Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking it, commenting, subscribing, or following me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Welcome to 2023. I'm pretty excited, partially excited. I don't know what's in store, so it's kind of hard to tell. But to celebrate the new year, I figured we could sit down and do a 2023 houseplant wish list. Woo! To be completely honest, I do not want any more houseplants right now. I'm very content, and this was more so of what plants are catching my eye and a very curated compilation of 5 houseplants that actually excite me. Some are rare and some are not, so there's a little something in here for everyone. Hopefully we can grow our wish list together. All right, let's jump into it. I'm gonna sit over here so I can put the little screenshots here. And we're heading to Instagram. All right, the first plant on my wish list today is the Euphorbia amic. This plant hits so many of the marks that I am shooting for in my collection. I want to be clear, I want one of the really large ones, the ones that are like $700. Yeah, that's the one that I want. I just think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous statement piece. I'm looking at a few plants, a few pictures here. I love the one from your local plant boy. I think that columnar Euphorbia are absolutely stunning. They look like little actual cacti and trees in your home, and that is completely the look that I'm going for. I have a few spots in my home that I think this would actually look really good in. I definitely recommend, if you're gonna have a Euphorbia this size in your home, you need to have a lot of light. If you don't live somewhere like California where it is sunny and bright and warm, then I really recommend just putting this under a good grow light. I envision this in my living room under my Soltech Solutions grow light, and I think that it would be happy there, but I definitely don't get enough sunlight to keep it growing and thriving the way I would want it to. So that is something to keep in mind if you are also adding this to your wish list. Again, I want a large one. So that makes it a little bit less unattainable cost-wise, and also harder to upkeep in my home because I can't just put it in a windowsill. I have to really commit to the bit and put it in an ideal place. I will note Euphorbia are not technically cacti, although they really look like it. They do need water, and they need a lot of it. Not super frequently, but you will want to water this more than your average common cactus. All right, next on my list, this one is a little bit random, but I saw it and I was like, hey, you know what? I do want this plant. I don't care if it thrives or doesn't with me. This is one of the plants that I would want to give a go to and just see how it goes. And that plant is the blue oil fern. And you may have seen this. This had its moment a little while ago, a few years ago maybe. It kind of disappeared, but as I was looking for plants to talk about, because again, I don't really have an active wish list, so I was truly just scrolling around and seeing what plants caught my eye and I would really like to have. This one was the second one I added to my list. Its scientific name is Microsorum thailandicum. And it's gorgeous. The thing I would like to note is that I think a lot of people expect it to be so blue and shiny and oily right there once you buy it. It really looks like that under certain lighting, and also if there's water on the foliage. If you are having a little bit more of a bland blue oil fern, don't be upset. That's kind of what they look like. You know, a lot of the people that post them make sure that they look oily when they post them. I was doing some research on this plant because it doesn't seem like it would do well with me, but a lot of people were saying that it's not as hard to take care of as you may expect, and it was actually one of the few ferns in their collection that were doing well. I truly think that keeping up with this plant, like most ferns, the biggest obstacle is maintaining humidity, and I really struggle with that, especially in the winter. This isn't a plant I would particularly want to get during the winter. I think I would want to maybe get it in the summer, have it acclimate to my home under more prime conditions, and then really pray during the winter time that it survives. The iridescence on this plant is so worth it in my opinion. I think it is so unique and very different from a lot of the plants that I currently have in my home. I would love to just dress it up in a nice little pot, have it be a little statement piece, and who knows, hopefully it's big and strong. This is a plant that I would absolutely take the risk on. Okay, next plant on my list is a very common one that should be semi-affordable depending on the size and pretty accessible, and that is the Ponytail Palm. I was not a huge fan of this plant for a while, and I think that's been happening to me a lot. A lot of houseplants I wrote off early on into collecting are suddenly appealing to me and piquing my interest. I don't know if that's something that happens as you collect plants over time and you get a little bit tired of the same old thing, but this plant has been absolutely catching my eye recently, and I think, again, similar to the Euphorbia, it is because I've been seeing more larger versions of this plant, and I think they are so cool. They are like actual trees in your home. I love the ones that are a little bit curlier. I don't know if that goes away as they mature, because typically I see the smaller versions being a little bit curlier up top and then the larger versions having a bit more of like hanging hair. I've been loving just seeing these placed indoors in gorgeous cement pots and literally having a space of their own. It would probably compete for placement with the Euphorbia I mentioned. I might have to pick one of those two, because also, again, the larger you get, the more expensive it's gonna be. I am always nervous about palms. I think that indoors they struggle a bit, but I think that this one is more easy care than your typical parlor palm. And what I like about this is that since it's tree-like, similar to Dracaena, if you have foliage loss, it's a bit more forgiving than if you have, say, a parlor palm, and as the foliage starts to drop, they look kind of scrawny, whereas this I think is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, I will say, as it declines. Because of their trunks, I do believe that you want to steer clear of overwatering this plant. Bright indirect light is your best bet. As with most houseplants, high humidity is ideal, but like I said, I think that this plant is aesthetically more forgiving to some foliage loss. All right, moving right on up, of course we have to have a philodendron in the list, otherwise, like, who are we? This is a bit of a rarer plant. For some, it may be old news, but I recently saw this plant in person in New York and fell so much more in love with it, and that is the Philodendron Towardum. Also, I wasn't sure how I felt about this plant when seeing it on Instagram, but seeing it in person kind of changed my mind. I only saw it in a 4-inch pot, which I think is what I could afford. I still can't afford the 4-inch pot, but I would probably get a smaller one and grow it out, unlike some of the other plants that I mentioned. This plant is so unique in its foliage, and I think that's what I'm kind of gearing towards personally in my collection. I want more unique plants, not necessarily rare, but ones that are different from one another, if that makes sense. The Philodendron Towardum has kind of like this teethy saw-like look, and I really, really love it. The problem I would personally run into with this plant is placement, because similar to when I had the Thaumatophyllum in my home, or the Philodendron Salome, it grows very outwards and the leaves demand 360 space. If I get this plant, I would need to be pretty careful on placement for it and have something in mind before I purchase it and let it grow big. I would keep that in mind if you are looking into this plant and you are investing in this plant. I've heard that it's very easygoing. It's a lot like other philodendron, where you don't want to overwater it. It needs bright indirect light, and humidity is ideal, which is clearly a common theme throughout all of these plants. Oh, and I saw this one growing upside down in a UFO planter, and my jaw dropped. Like, talk about unique. You have a unique plant in a unique way to display it, and you know, if you watched my 2023 trends video that I posted recently, that is what I'm really like striving for this year. This picture that'll pop up right now is particularly what got me so hyped up over this plant. I think this combination is really sick, and I would love to do that one day. And the last plant on my wish list, this is the one. This is the one. This is like on the wish list. I didn't even have to do research on it. I knew this plant was gonna be on this list because this is one I'm actually seeking. I'm like foaming at the mouth for this plant. And you guessed it, it's a Syngonium, and it is the Syngonium Godzilla. It's so good. It is so good. If you are unfamiliar with this plant, picture it as a Syngonium white butterfly and a Shangri-La pothos having a baby. It has the most beautiful spinachy curled leaves with the coloration similar to a white butterfly Syngonium, or kind of like, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's batik-like, but you get the picture. It has like this very gorgeous white creamy variegation, and it is so, so cool. And I love it, and I want it so bad. I've seen this plant before. As you all know, I'm a huge Syngonium lover. They just don't do as well in this current apartment. So I've dwindled down my Syngonium collection down to just a handful. I think I have like 2 or 3. I've heard of this one. I've seen a few pictures of it. It hasn't really gone mainstream houseplant culture, but I saw it in New York, where I also saw the Towardum. It's stunning. It is stunning. I was not expecting to see it. As I said, it hasn't really gone mainstream. I don't see it in houseplant shops. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. But when I saw it, I literally got so emotional. I almost cried. And I haven't felt like that over a plant in a long time. I knew right then and there it has won a spot on my wish list. It has won #1 slot. I really hope I can get my hands on it one day. I'm a little bit nervous because I do think it is a little bit a more finicky Syngonium, and even the regular Syngonium podophyllums don't do that well in my apartment. But this is one I would like build a terrarium around. Like, no questions asked. If I invested in this houseplant, I would take the best care of it. I just couldn't afford it at the time. We all know how that goes. So I had to put it back, but I took so many pictures of it. And I think about that plant to this day. It is so cool. It is so cool. So if you're a fellow Syngonium lover, let me know in the comments if you've seen this plant, because wow, I found it stunning and so unique and cool and fun, and I want it. So there you have it. Those are 5 houseplants that I am craving in 2023. Will it happen? Probably not. I usually make these houseplant wish list videos and never actually get those plants, because who am I kidding? But it's fun to dream, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope some plants piqued your interest. Please let me know what plants you are hunting for down below in the comment section, and thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, blah, 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 and I will see you in my next video. Bye!